Chapter 71 The Man Who Fought Against the First Hokage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che and Hong returned to town after taking down the evil god cult, and led the mayor and townspeople back to the cult's cave. The sight of corpses everywhere shocked the townspeople. When they reached the deepest part of the cave, the townspeople were initially scared, but once they realized these were the cult's kidnapped sacrifices, they rushed in, frantically searching for the bodies of family and friends. The mayor sighed deeply at the scene, then knelt before Che and Hong. They quickly helped the old man up. Without you two, the mayor said, these remains would have rotted away, undiscovered. We don't even know your names. Can you tell us? Che and Hong told him. The mayor looked surprised. I didn't realize our benefactor was the famous Konoha prodigy. Famous was probably an exaggeration. Still, Che had gained some notoriety in the ninja world, mainly from embarrassing Sunagakure village in Yitsang. Since the land of rain was friendly with Konoha, Che's reputation may have reached here sooner. To show his gratitude, the mayor insisted Che and Hong stay to help deal with the aftermath. First, they threw a huge banquet to thank them for destroying the cult. Then, Che and Hong were invited to stay and enjoy a free, 3-day trip to the hot spring town. Finally, the two left the land of rain with the townspeople's farewells. As Che and Kurenai headed back to Konoha, they were stopped by an uninvited guest shortly after entering the land of fire. Che had sensed the person's presence outside the banquet, curious how such a strong person could be in a small place like Hot Spring Town. Now, it seemed this powerful man was targeting them, or, more likely, Che himself. The man had black hair, wore a gray turban and a black mask like Kakashi's. His eyes were red with green pupils, giving him an unsettling look, and his forehead protector marked him as a rogue ninja from Takigakure village. S-rank, that's the S-rank rogue ninja, Kakuzu. Rogue ninjas are wanted by every village, and there aren't many S-rank traders, so he recognized him. Seeing the man clearly, Che told Hong, he's after me. Hong, you can't help here. Get to the Konoha outpost for reinforcements while I hold him off. Actually, Che just didn't want Hong to be in danger. But there was a ninja outpost near the Fire Country border, so it wasn't a complete lie. Hong knew he was no match for Che, so he immediately ran toward the border. Kakuzu didn't try to stop him, confident he could kill Che before reinforcements arrived. 10 million taels. That's the reward from Raza of the Sand Village. Kakuzu revealed his purpose. So, you're a bounty hunter? Che seemed unconcerned. Exactly. I've seen plenty of geniuses like you. Most of them are dead, and you won't be an exception. Kakuzu sounded confident. Che chuckled. You talk like you're half dead. How old are you? Kakuzu smirked. It's normal for Konoha kids not to recognize me. If you must know, I once fought your first Hokage. Kakuzu seemed to be waiting for Che to look shocked, but Che remained calm. Kakuzu looked surprised. Aren't you impressed? I fought the first Hokage and lived. Don't you know how strong he was? Che smiled slightly. Not really. The first Hokage was strong, sure, but maybe you just saw him on the battlefield and like to brag about it. Kakuzu's eyes narrowed. You're asking for it. Che's smile vanished. So are you. After living so long, it's time for you to die. Asterisk technique, whirlwind, crush, star. Che used whirlwind to instantly pull Kakuzu in, then punched him with a massive burst of mana and chakra. Asterisk bang, star. The powerful blow slammed into Kakuzu's chest. Anyone else would have died instantly, but Kakuzu had been in a ninja world for decades. He quickly formed hand seals and used earth style, earth spear, covering himself in a layer of hardened earth. The punch still sent Kakuzu flying, but he was immediately pulled back. Another punch sent him flying again. But the two punches weren't enough to kill him. Kakuzu coughed up blood, his insides rattled, his stomach churning. Che tried to repeat the trick, but Kakuzu fought back the urge to vomit, condensing chakra in his feet to anchor himself to the ground. Looks like those years weren't a complete waste. Seeing Kakuzu adapt so quickly, Che acknowledged his experience. Kakuzu's eyes now held shock instead of contempt. What power is this? How do you have it? Damn it, Raza only said you were a jonin, nothing about this. Kakuzu was shocked, confused, and even lost some of his greed. Che didn't answer. You're not as strong as the third Hokage. How could you have survived against the first? Suddenly, Kakuzu's back split open, and black tendrils erupted, forming two masked monsters behind him. The monsters each formed a huge ball of fire chakra and wind chakra in their mouths. See for yourself how strong I am. Fire style, headhunter, * wind style, pressure, star. The fire monster launched an incredibly compressed fireball that instantly expanded into a sea of flames. The sea of flames combined with the explosive wind of the wind monster's high-pressure air ball, creating a combined jutsu, disaster of form. The wind and fire swept forward, destroying everything in its path, but Che simply held up a hand to block it. Kakuzu thought he had succeeded, but when the fire died down, Che stood unharmed in the burned open space. Kakuzu was shocked, he couldn't understand it. He took a few steps back and recalled his monsters, feeling his life was in danger. Che's 6 eyes flashed, seeing Kakuzu using a secret technique to modify his blood vessels and steal other people's hearts for his own use. Under each mask, there was a heart. Taking advantage of Che's analysis, Kakuzu attacked again. His right arm swelled rapidly, and more black tendrils sprouted. The masked monsters with wind, fire, and lightning attributes gathered at the front. The 3 types of chakra mixed, firing a terrifying chakra cannon. The thick beam ripped through the air, carving a long trench in the ground below from the heat. When the dust settled, the trench was hundreds of feet long and 10 feet wide, turning the area into scorched earth. But Che was still unharmed. Kakuzu despaired. Simple tricks like that might work on others. You're too young to deal with me. Che, who hasn't lived past Kakuzu's age in his 2 lifetimes combined, commented sharply. Kakuzu extended all his tendrils to protect himself, while preparing to escape. While Kakuzu wasn't the strongest, his decades of surviving in the ninja world proved he had some skills. Unfortunately, Kakuzu was out of luck this time. Black flash, star. Che used whirlwind to pull himself towards Kakuzu, appearing instantly in front of him. His fist filled with curse power, he punched. The space distorted in that 0.000001 second delay. The power of the curse flashed black. The black flash multiplies power by 2.5 times. The conditions to trigger the black flash are harsh, so no one can use it on purpose. Still, there's a world of difference in core abilities between those who can and can't use black flash, and Che had become the sky and cloud. Kakuzu's defensive tendrils shattered, and Che's fist punched through his chest. The black flash coursed through Kakuzu, and the masks inside him exploded one after another. Only the earth attribute heart was barely holding on. Che grabbed the heart and crushed it. I wonder if Kakashi's new jutsu is finished yet. It should work against earth release. Che murmured, but Kakuzu, lying on the ground, could no longer hear anything. The man who fought the first Hokage was dead. Chapter 72 Bounty and Sugar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In truth, Kakuzu's death was unfair. He was, without a doubt, the toughest enemy Che had ever faced. Terumi Mei and Higura, who seemed stronger at first, really weren't in the same league, but when Che fought them, he held back for various reasons. Kakuzu, on the other hand, faced Che unleashing his full power, including the unlimited spell. Kakuzu was caught off guard by it because of the intelligence gap and Che's sudden black flash breakthrough. That's how a veteran S-rank rogue ninja, a legend in the ninja world, fell so easily to Konoha's rookie, Uchiha Che. Che stared at the sky, his 6 eyes scanning the clouds above Kakuzu's body. About half a day later, Kurenai arrived with backup from the border post. Kakuzu was already gone, there was no helping it. Che and Kakuzu's battle was over fast, and the border post was a good distance away. Even at top ninja speed, the round trip took well over half an hour. Che turned to see the shocked faces of Kurenai and the other Konoha ninjas. The lead Konoha ninja's jaw dropped and he couldn't seem to close his mouth. Kurenai rushed to Che's side, checking him over from head to toe, making sure he was okay. Then, she looked at the vast, scorched landscape around them, the aftermath of Kakuzu's rampage. Kurenai tilted her head, looking adorable in her confusion. Oh, he missed a spot, and then I took him out, Che explained casually. Kurenai clearly didn't buy it, but since Che was being secretive, she didn't push it. Among the reinforcements was a Jonin, wearing the standard Konoha uniform. He was a middle-aged man with red fawn-like markings on his face and a blue bandana around his head. A large yellow ninja dog followed close behind. It was obvious he was from the Inuzuka clan, one of Konoha's most respected ninja families. I heard Minato say you were a prodigy. I thought you were just talented, but you're a powerhouse, the Jonin said. Che looked at the Inuzuka clan ninja and said modestly, "Nah, I'm not that strong." "You just took down an S-rank rogue ninja and you're saying you're not strong?" "You've got high standards," the ninja replied, shaking his head. "By the way, I'm Inuzuka Paladin. I used to be on a team with Minato. The guy you killed was Kakuzu, the same one who tried to assassinate the first Hokage and offed all those high-ranking officials in Takigakure to steal their secret techniques." Inuzuka Paladin emphasized that Kakuzu was no ordinary opponent. Che didn't react much, but he was a little surprised. So, what he said about fighting the first Hokage was true. Inuzuka chuckled, crouching down to confirm Kakuzu's death. Then, he stood up and said, "Rogue ninjas at that level have huge bounties. Kakuzu's should be over 30 million taels. Konoha will hit up Takigakure and collect it for you. That's worth the reward for dozens of S-rank missions. Looks like you're a rich man now." That finally brought a smile to Che's face. The sense of accomplishment from taking down a famous and powerful enemy couldn't compare to cold, hard cash. If Kakuzu was still kicking in the afterlife, he'd probably agree. The darkly humorous part was that Kakuzu had heard about the feast in the hot spring town celebrating Konoha's genius ninja and thought he'd pop by to see if he could make a quick buck. Instead, he wound up handing Che a windfall. Che left Kakuzu's body to Inuzuka and the others to deal with, and left with Kurenai. They didn't head straight back to Konoha. "Remember when I said I was going to take you somewhere?" Che asked on the road. Kurenai nodded. "Something about cats, right?" "That's right. I'm taking you to Granny Cat," Che finally revealed. Kurenai asked, "Granny Cat? Is she a person or a cat?" "Ha ha ha, she's a person, of course," Che laughed. Kurenai playfully punched Che on the arm. "Stop laughing." The punch didn't even faze him. Kakuzu's attacks hadn't even touched him. "Actually, it's my first time going there, too. Granny Cat is the Uchiha clan's go-to intelligence source, and she runs a shop that customizes ninja tools. So, basically every Uchiha knows how to get there." Che explained. Che and Kurenai arrived at a crumbling, abandoned town in the Land of Fire and found a hidden passage within the ruins. They went inside. Kurenai followed Che, looking slightly uneasy. "It's kind of creepy here." Che explained, "That's because it's not exactly designed for visitors." A voice with a strange inflection cut through the air. "We apologize if we made you uncomfortable." In front of them, an off-white cat with brown and yellow markings sat, its mouth moving as it spoke. "The cat's talking." Kurenai looked surprised. Che explained, "It's a ninja cat. It can talk and fight." The cat said, "My name is Jianhua. What brings you here?" Che stepped forward, took a small bottle from his pocket, and handed it to the ninja cat. "I'm Uchiha Che, from the Uchiha clan. I'm here to see Granny Cat about adopting a cat. Bottle Tianmu Polygonum, you know your stuff. Alright, I'll take you to her." Jianhua took the herb and tucked it into its blue clothes, then turned and gestured for Che and Kurenai to follow. Jianhua led them through a maze of twists and turns until they arrived at Granny Cat's shop. Granny Cat had long, exaggeratedly fluffy gray hair that looked like a gray umbrella on the back of her head. She wore black cat ears on her head and sat on a red round carpet in front of the window, surrounded by dozens of cats of all kinds. Her name was certainly fitting. "You're Uchiha Che. This is your first time here," she said. Che and Kurenai greeted her politely. Granny Cat smiled. "Such a talented young man. And the girl is quite lovely, too." Kurenai smiled shyly at the compliment. Che glanced at Kurenai with a chuckle, then said to Granny Cat, "We're here to adopt a cat. Do you want a ninja cat or an ordinary cat?" Granny Cat asked, stroking a kitten beside her. Che looked at Kurenai again, who replied, "An ordinary cat is fine." Granny Cat then asked Jianhua to gather all the ordinary cats. Soon, the store was overflowing with cats of every variety, and Kurenai was overwhelmed by the cuteness. "You can pick one out yourselves. Take good care of it for me." Kurenai nodded solemnly, squatting down and petting a cat, a happy smile on her face. "There are so many cats," she said. She touched each one, seeming to like them all. Then, Kurenai's eyes lit up, as if she'd found a special one. It was a white kitten, maybe 6 or 7 months old. It had snow-white fur and ruby-red eyes. Kurenai picked up the kitten and stroked its soft fur, then looked at Che, beaming. Che was already looking at Kurenai, his gaze soft, and their eyes met. Kurenai said happily, "This kitten is so cute. Its white fur looks like yours, and its red eyes look like mine. It's like our." She caught herself, realizing she was being a little forward, and quickly stopped herself. Che didn't seem to notice. He smiled and said, "Then let's take this one." He then looked at Granny Cat, who nodded and asked the other cats to leave. "This is a 6-month-old male cat. Please take him back to Konoha and raise him well." "Does it have a name?" Che asked. Granny Cat shook her head, so Che and Kurenai decided to come up with one on the spot. "How about Sugar?" The name came from Kurenai. Che smiled. "What a sweet name." And so, Che and Kurenai returned to Konoha with their new kitten, Sugar. Chapter 73 Ninja World War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che and Hong returned to Konoha. They decided Beidong would usually stay at Hong's place. If Hong and Che went on a mission, Beidong would stay with Shikaku's family, so, they took Beidong to Shikaku's to help her get used to the environment and visit with Shikaku and his wife. Shikaku's wife, Yoshino, seemed to adore cats. She hugged Beidong and cooed like a kid. Che joked, "Sensei, planning on giving Shikaku-sensei a kid anytime soon?" Yoshino raised her eyebrows and replied, "You bet. I even got Shikaku to quit smoking to get ready for a baby." "Then I wish you luck," Che said, petting Beidong. Yoshino smiled and thanked her, then told Che that Shikaku was in his study. She went outside with Hong and Beidong to play with the cat. Che went to the study door. Shikaku heard him and said, "Come on in." Che opened the door and stepped inside. "Shikaku-sensei." Che noticed Shikaku looked serious. Shikaku snapped out of it and gestured for Che to sit down. "You just got back to Konoha, right?" "Yeah." Shikaku nodded and said nothing. "Something happened?" Che asked. "We're officially at war with the Sand Village." Che was surprised. "That was fast." Shikaku explained, "Maybe they figured we knew about their plan to invade, so they abandoned it and hit us before we were ready. And that's not all. The Cloud Village looks like they're about to make a move. Word is, the third Raikage Sun and the 8-tailed Jinchuriki are leading the troops. They're coming at us full force, and their target is Konoha. The Hokage just held a Jonin meeting. All the Jonin in the village are on standby, waiting for orders. I'm being deployed in a few days." Che nodded, thinking, so Konoha's fighting on 2 fronts, and as the strongest village, we don't even have any allies. During his years in Konoha, Che often felt something was wrong with the village's current policies. He was too young and weak to change things back then, but now, Che had come into his own, and his actions could directly or indirectly impact the ninja world. News of Che's defeat of Kakuzu had spread. Now, instead of seeing him as a rookie, people saw him as a rising power. Che was starting to see himself as someone who could make a difference. Maybe he could change things in the future. Shikaku paused, then changed the subject. "I heard you took down Kakuzu. Good job. Sounds like you're getting stronger. I'll write you a recommendation to become a Jonin. If you get it, all you'll have to do is pass the exam. You'll be the youngest Jonin in Konoha's history." Che was grateful. "Thank you, Shikaku-sensei." Shikaku waved it off. "What else am I gonna do for my student? Come on, let's play a couple of rounds of shogi." Che stayed and played 2 rounds with Shikaku. They split the games, so they played another. Shikaku finally won. Wiping his brow, Shikaku commented, "Your chess skills are getting better." He was worried he'd lose if they played another game. Luckily, dinner was ready. Yoshino had set the table. Shikaku and his wife asked Chie and Kurenai to stay and eat. Yoshino even made a bowl of fish paste for Beidong, placing it in front of her. Beidong stuck out her tongue and lapped at the paste. Finding it delicious, she stuck her whole head in the bowl. When she looked up, her face was covered in paste. The four enjoyed their meal. In times of war, these moments were rare. A few days later, Shikaku and his Inoshikacho teammates were sent to the Western Front, where the fighting with the Sand Village was the heaviest. Yoshino was usually hard on Shikaku, but she loved him deeply. On the day he left, she broke down in tears. Chie and Hong were there. They'd never seen this strong woman lose it like that, but Shikaku had to go. He couldn't disobey orders, and he was committed to protecting his family and village. After he left, Yoshino knelt by the door, unable to get up for a long time. Chie and Hong felt bad. These things happened all the time in Konoha. The Sand Village's invasion was just the beginning of the Great Ninja War. When the world came crashing down, it crushed people. Kurenai imagined herself in Yoshino's place and felt her pain. Hong wondered if she would cry as hard if Chie were the one leaving for the front lines. She thought she might cry even harder. Chie wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about how Konoha, the strongest village, was being invaded by the Sand Village. He felt a sense of outrage. He remembered the history he'd learned in the Ninja Academy. Back when the first Hokage captured the tailed beasts and held the 5 Kage summit to distribute them, Konoha was the strongest. They also won the next 2 wars. You'd think they'd be able to deter any attacks, but now, the Sand Village was attacking. The Cloud Village in the northeast and the Mist Village in the southeast were planning invasions as well. The Stone Village in the northwest might be looking to attack too. Chie had lived in Konoha since he was 5 and was now almost 12. Over the years, Konoha had become his home. The people he cared about lived here. Yuhihi Hong and Yuhihi Kurenai had always taken care of him. He was grateful to them. The Uchiha clan had been welcoming, too. They'd had some conflicts at first, but they'd worked things out. The clan leader, Fugaku, had been kind to him. Chie knew he had an agenda, but he'd helped Chie a lot. There were also those guys he'd graduated with and still hung out with. Then there were friends from the Ninja Academy, like Kakashi Hitaki, once a top genius, and Asuma Sarutobi, who he'd clashed with and then made peace with. Because of Konoha and the people in it, Chie wasn't alone anymore. Konoha was important to him. Now that it was under threat, Chie was angry at the enemies and disgusted with the inaction of Konoha's leadership. One day, I'm gonna change Konoha. Chapter 74 The Will of Fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chie and Kurenai stayed with Nara Yoshino until she seemed to feel better. Then they said their goodbyes. On their way, Chie said to Kurenai, with Shikaku-sensei off at the front lines, Yoshino-san must be feeling lonely. If you get a chance, why don't you bring her some sweets and keep her company? Kurenai nodded. Got it, I'm not dumb. Chie smiled, but it quickly faded. Suddenly, an ANBU operative in a black hooded cloak and an animal mask appeared before them. Cheru Uchiha, Lord Hokage requests your presence at the Hokage building as soon as possible. Understood. The ANBU vanished as quickly as he'd appeared. Kurenai frowned, looking at Chie with worry. A summons from the Hokage during wartime couldn't be good news. She feared Chie would be sent to a dangerous battlefield like Shikaku. Chie gently placed his hands on Kurenai's shoulders. Whatever the Hokage wants, don't worry about it. Because I'm strong, okay. Tears welled in Kurenai's eyes. Biting her lip, she said, I know you'll be all right. Chie nodded, wiped away the tears from her beautiful eyes, then turned and headed for the Hokage building. Arriving at the office, Chie knocked. Looks like I'm going to send you to deal with the hidden cloud again. Come in. Hiruzen Sarutobi's voice came from within. Chie opened the door to find Minato Namikaze already there. Chie, you're here. Hiruzen waved him over. Lord Hokage, Chie said, bowing slightly. He then greeted Minato, Minato-sensei. Minato smiled and nodded. Chie, I've read the Jonin recommendation Shikaku sent. Your abilities are definitely at that level. I've always been impressed by your talent. You're destined to be a pillar of Konoha and a worthy successor to the Will of Fire. Hiruzen got straight to the point, then changed tack. However, you're only 11. You're young and lack experience, so I haven't approved your promotion yet. He was offering Che a carrot and a stick. Che had defeated the S-rank rogue ninja Kakuzu, yet he wasn't being promoted to Jonin. Using age and experience as an excuse was ridiculous. A ninja's strength wasn't measured by age, and in terms of experience, Che had completed 2 S-rank missions. Che sneered inwardly, but his face remained calm as he bowed his head. I understand your concerns, Lord Hokage. Hiruzen nodded, pleased. So, I've decided to give you another year to hone your skills, then you'll have enough experience to become a Jonin. The Hidden Sand has launched a full-scale invasion, and the Hidden Cloud in the northeast is making moves. I want you to reinforce the Fire Country's northeastern defense line. After a year, I'll approve your promotion. Minato's heading there to bolster defenses, so you'll have a senior to guide you. Minato, I expect you to look out for Che. Understood, I will, Minato replied respectfully. Che spoke up, will my assisting Orochimaru-sensei be put on hold? Hiruzen smiled. You don't know. Orochimaru was appointed commander-in-chief of the northeastern defense line a few days before you returned to Konoha. You'll be his assistant there, as before. Che nodded, satisfied. Hiruzen laid out the details. Gather in front of the Hokage building at 9 tomorrow morning. Minato will lead a force of 500 to the northeastern headquarters, where Orochimaru will take command. Understood. Che bowed slightly, bid them farewell, and left at Hiruzen's gesture. Once Che was gone, Hiruzen sighed. Uchiha Che's talent is just too great, almost too great. Minato looked at him, hesitant. Hokage-sama, I think Che's a good kid. Is this really necessary? Hiruzen lowered his gaze, his expression unreadable. Che may be a good kid, but his will of fire isn't strong enough. Minato, you need to cultivate his will of fire on the Hidden Cloud defense line. If Che's willing to shed the limitations of his clan, embrace the will of fire like Uchiha Kagami, and dedicate himself to the village. Then I can trust him completely, like I trusted the second Hokage. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hiruzen looked up at Minato. Minato solemnly replied, understood, Hokage-sama. I will teach and nurture the will of fire in Che. Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction. Minato, I've always had high hopes for you. You're the best of all my students. Keep working hard. After this war, you could become an excellent successor to the title of Hokage. Anticipation flickered in Minato's eyes as he bowed. Thank you, Hokage-sama, for your guidance. Hiruzen was no longer young and had mentioned the next Hokage, and even the one after that. More than once, he clearly saw Minato as a prime candidate. By the way, how is Kakashi's strength coming along? Hiruzen asked. Minato replied, Kakashi's also incredibly talented, with proficiency in all 5 nature transformations, though he excels at earth and lightning release. He's developing a lightning release ninjutsu that could rival my Rasengan. Hiruzen had always been impressed by geniuses who studied ninjutsu, like Orochimaru, and now Kakashi. Good. He should be strong enough to be a Jonin, right? I'm thinking of promoting him. Hiruzen's eagerness for Kakashi's growth was evident, but Minato's answer was disappointing. Not yet. Kakashi still needs more experience. It's too early for Jonin. He needs to complete his new technique first. Maybe he'll be ready by next year. Hiruzen sighed, acquiescing to Minato's judgment, and then dismissed him. After Minato left, Hiruzen leaned back and muttered, Jiraiya once said that no one compares to Namake's Minato. That applies to Uchiha Che as well. But you're different. Minato comes from a civilian background. Che, you're an Uchiha. Konoha's will of fire still can't be fully entrusted to you. Chapter 75 Parting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che returned to Hong's place. Before he could even get through the door, Hong rushed to his side, looking anxious. Che, what did Hokage want? Che changed his shoes. Nothing, Just that my Jounin's promotion didn't go through, so they're sending me to the northeastern border. Hong sensed a hint of bitterness in his voice. When do you leave? Tomorrow. Che walked into the living room with her. He sat on the sofa and said, "We're meeting at 9 tomorrow morning, then heading out." That's fast. The northeastern border, you'll be fighting those ninjas from the Cloud Village. Hong was clearly worried. Che took her hand, holding it gently. Don't worry. I'm strong. And I'm not going alone. There are 500 other ninjas, plus Orochimaru and Minato Namikaze. I'll be fine. Hong was a little shy but didn't pull away. After a pause, she said, I know, but, since you're leaving, I'm all alone. My dad got transferred a few days ago. Che stroked her hand. Hong, you gotta be tough. It's wartime. With me and your dad gone, you have to take care of yourself. Hong held back tears and looked up at him, serious. I'm a Leaf Village ninja. Don't underestimate me. I can handle things. Bai Tang, the cat, jumped onto the sofa, tilting its head, curious about what they were doing. Che felt relieved seeing Hong so resolute. After they calmed down, Hong seemed to realize she was still holding his hand and quickly pulled away, her ears turning red as she looked down. Che smiled. It's getting late. How about we grab dinner? Hong nodded. Barbecue again? Not tonight. I can't have you eating barbecue with me every time. Che said, let's go to that seafood place you love, the one with the wasabi octopus. Hong perked up, but told Che to wait on the sofa. She hurried to the kitchen and made a bowl of cat food with fresh shrimp, minced chicken, chicken livers, and chicken hearts. She cracked an egg on top and steamed it. After putting the cat food down, she disappeared into the bathroom for a while. Che, bored, went over to Bai Tang and squatted down. The cat was completely absorbed in its meal, looking as wild as ever. Che picked up the cat by the scruff of its neck, and Bai Tang started meowing, like it was calling for Hong to rescue it. Ignoring the cat's cries, Che reached into the bowl with his free hand, grabbed a shrimp, and popped it into his mouth. Not bad, but kinda bland. He put the cat down. Bai Tang landed on the floor, startled. Just then, the bathroom door opened. Hong, hair still damp, peeked out, wrapped in a white towel. What's wrong with Bai Tang? Nothing, I just stole a bite of its shrimp. Che, still squatting, turned to answer. Hong rolled her eyes. Seriously? Fighting a cat for food? Then she went back inside. It took almost an hour for her to shower and dry her hair, and another half hour to pick out her clothes. Luckily, Hong was young and didn't need makeup, or it would have taken even longer. Hong's hair was slightly wavy, dark and shoulder-length, with a faint floral scent. A white shawl covered her shoulders. She wore a magenta top and a light pink skirt, with black leggings peeking out and blue, open-toed ninja boots. It was similar to what she usually wore, but for some reason, Che thought she looked especially beautiful that night. He completely forgot his boredom and just stared at her. Hong giggled shyly. Do I look okay? Che nodded. Yeah, you look great. Really great. Then take a good look. You won't get to see me again until tomorrow. Hong pouted and turned away. Che waved his hand and walked toward her. Hey, I'm just going to the border, it's not like I'm gonna die or anything. Hong immediately turned back, serious. Don't say things like that. It's bad luck. Che held up his hands in mock surrender. Okay, I won't say anything. How about this? After dinner, let's take a picture together. I'll take it with me to the border so I can see you every day. Hong's ears turned bright red, and she nodded softly. They headed out as the sun began to set. Che and Hong had a huge meal at the seafood restaurant, then went shopping. They picked up all kinds of things, big and small, then went to a photo booth to take a picture. They got 2 copies made, one for each of them. They went to a flower shop in the mountains. Che bought Hong a beautiful bouquet, and then they went home. It's worth mentioning that the entire date was paid for with Kakuzu's money. To be precise, the bounty from the waterfall village for taking him down. Che gave the money to Hong. She didn't want to take it at first, but when Che told her that she and her father were his only family in the Leaf Village, she agreed. Hong promised to take good care of it, and Che smiled and said she could use it if she wanted. The next day, Che arrived at Hong's house wearing the new clothes she'd picked out for him yesterday. He said his last goodbyes, packed up, and headed to the Hokage building to meet up. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, wearing his Hokage robes and hat with the fire symbol, gave a speech to the assembled ninja. The speech was the same old thing, all about the will of fire. Afterward, the 500-strong troops set off, led by Minato Namikaze, parading through the streets like warriors off to war. People lined the streets to see them off, offering blessings and farewells. The young ninja, who had never been to the battlefield, were excited and eager to prove themselves. The older, more experienced ninja were worried and somber. They knew the battlefield was more likely a place to die than a place to become a hero. Che's reaction was different. He was calm about going to war, scanning the crowd with his keen eyes, looking for Hong. He spotted her. Even though he'd said she didn't need to see him off, he knew she would come anyway. Che raised his hand and waved. Hong saw him in the crowd. She waved back frantically. But Che was being pushed forward by the troops behind him, and he could only say his final farewell from a distance. Hong couldn't hear him, but she understood the shape of his mouth. He was saying, "Wait for me to come back." Chapter 76 Border Situation. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The 500 troops immediately left the village, heading northeast. To the northeast of the Land of Fire were the countries of Tani and Tang. These were small countries, together amounting to only about a sixth or seventh of the Land of Fire's size, located between the Land of Fire and the Land of Lightning, and between their respective peninsulas. They served as a buffer zone. The Land of Lightning occupied the Thunder Peninsula, with the small Land of Frost situated at its southern tip. While Tani, Tang, and Frost were sandwiched between the Land of Fire and the Land of Lightning, their allegiances differed. Tani, to the north-northeast of the Land of Fire, was bordered by the sea to the north and the neutral Land of Iron to the west, making it relatively neutral. Tang, located in the northeast of the Land of Fire, was 3 to 4 times larger than Tani, sharing extensive borders and traditionally leaning towards the Land of Fire. Frost, on the Isthmus of the Thunder Peninsula, connected the Land of Lightning and the Land of Rain, naturally favoring the Land of Lightning. The dynamics between these three small countries and the two major powers of fire and lightning dictated the war's deployments. Konoha established its northeastern defense line headquarters in Tani, with a total of 4,000 troops. An additional 1,000 troops were stationed at the border between the Land of Tani and the Land of Fire, including the 500 reinforcements. Konoha's total strength on the northeastern border reached 500. This was a significant number, especially considering Konoha was fighting on two fronts, representing nearly half of its combat force. This wasn't an army of ordinary people, but an army of 5,500 ninjas. Any genin could easily massacre an entire village, a few dozen could capture a town, a few hundred could seize several large cities, and 1,000 could destroy a small country. And 5,500 ninjas were the bargaining chips in the game between great powers. The troops arrived at headquarters 3 days later and were dispersed across small defense lines under Orochimaru's direction. Only Che was kept behind. In the command tent, Orochimaru, Uchiha Che, and Namikaze Minato gathered around a sand table depicting the battlefield terrain. Orochimaru was briefing Minato, who hadn't been on this line of defense recently. Once they finished, Orochimaru turned to Che, who had been silently studying the sand table. "Che-kun, what are your thoughts on the battlefield situation?" he asked, a playful glint in his eyes. Che pointed at the sand table. "Isn't our defense line along the Tani border a bit weak? It's not connected to the Land of Rain's defense line. It looks like a dent in an iron plate." Orochimaru's eyes showed admiration. "Indeed, but we're limited by our troop numbers, and Tani has declared neutrality, preventing us from directly garrisoning troops there. Kumogakure is unlikely to detour through Tani. We have a defense line in the Land of Tani, and transporting troops by sea to the north is difficult, so we've had to accept this vulnerability. But we're not entirely unprepared. Minato's mobile unit is responsible for reinforcing Tani's defense line. If the troops stationed at the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Tani hold their ground until the mobile unit arrives, we can attack the invading Kyumo ninja from both sides. Che nodded, understanding that this apparent loophole was the best solution given the circumstances. So, Che-kun, what position are you seeking? Orochimaru asked, his golden eyes fixed on Che. Che paused. The front lines. Che planned to make a name for himself on the border battlefield, which would greatly benefit his future plans. Orochimaru studied Che. You must be mentally prepared. The front lines are the most dangerous. Che nodded solemnly. I understand. Orochimaru turned to Namake's Minato. Then, Uchiha Che will be under your command, Minato. Namake's Minato readily agreed. Minato commanded 2 units, a mobile force of 800, stationed in the rear to reinforce various battlefields, and a forward force of 200, responsible for frontline reconnaissance and leading charges. These 1,000 ninjas were all directly under Minato, therefore, Minato's status in the border force was second only to Orochimaru. Although Orochimaru was senior to Minato, the special nature of Minato's troops and Minato's growing reputation sometimes led people to believe that Minato was in charge of the battlefield defense line. Minato initially wanted to assign Che to the mobile unit as a reserve, but after Che's insistence, he assigned Che to the forward unit. Che was transferred to the Inuzuka Fong squad. The two had met before near the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Rain, when Che had just killed Kakuzu. Inuzuka Fong was deeply impressed by Che, greeting him warmly upon their reunion. Che returned the gesture, and they quickly struck up a familiar conversation. Minato stood nearby as Inuzuka Fong pointed at him and said to Che, I remember when Minato and I were on the same Jonin team. Even though he was the captain, I still looked out for him like a little brother. Now that Minato's placed you in my hands, I'll take care of you the same way. Che bowed. Thank you, Inuzuka Jonin. We've already established that. Why the formalities? Inuzuka said, waving his hands in mock annoyance. Brother Fong, Che corrected himself. Inuzuka Fong laughed. This kid's got a good head on his shoulders, wouldn't you say? Minato smiled. He's always been like this. Well, you two chat, and I'll brief you on your mission. All right. Understood. Inuzuka Fong and Che replied, and Minato left. Inuzuka Fong immediately brought Che to the 4-man team he commanded, consisting of 1 Jounin and 3 Chunin from the Inuzuka clan. Che was now joining as a Chunin. Gather round, everyone. This is the famous Che Uchiha. He's our new team member. Come on, say hello. Inuzuka Fong clapped his hands. Several figures emerged from nearby tents. Captain, that's awesome. You got Konoha's top talent to join our team. A young ninja with a round face and a buzz cut exclaimed excitedly. Being young, he was more in awe of Che's genius. Daichi, take it easy. Control yourself, said another, more mature and composed man, nudging the buzzcut ninja. Uncle Chun. Stop touching my head. I'm not tall enough as it is. Daichi retorted, seeming very sensitive about his height. Besides the two of them, a handsome young man walked out of the tent, rubbing his eyes. It's too noisy, he complained. My head's about to explode. Woof woof woof. A large yellow dog also bounded out to greet Che. Daichi Futada, Jun Fuyuno, Takuto Mizumoto, and my partner, Huangmuru. These are all our team members, and now we're adding you. Inuzuka Fong introduced Che to everyone. Che bowed slightly. Hello, everyone. I'm Uchiha Che. I look forward to working with you. The 3 ninjas exchanged glances, seeming surprised. Uchiha's reputation wasn't the best, and coupled with Che's fame as Konoha's top genius, they had expected an arrogant hotshot. Instead, Che was modest and courteous. Hello, hello. Daichi replied quickly. Looks like we finally have a reliable ninja on the team, Fuyuno Jun said. Mizumoto Takuto scratched his head and offered a handshake. Woof woof woof. Huangmuru wagged his tail, greeting Che happily. Chapter 77 Night Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On Che's first day, he met 4 people and a dog. The day was quiet. The Inuzuka Paladin team patrolled the front lines and returned to camp. Che's unit usually handled the front line patrols, but with so many teams, they weren't overly busy. Late autumn in Yuji country was chilly. The team huddled around a fire outside the camp, trying to stay warm and heat their dinner. Dinner came in aluminum lunch boxes, a plum rice ball, a few thin meat slices, some curried potatoes, and pickles. Not exactly a feast, but still a decent 3 courses. 4. If you counted the salted plum in the rice ball, pretty good food for wartime. Che quietly focused on his meal. Daji piped up, "Hey, Che, why don't you look like the other Uchihas?" Chun and Takuto turned to Che, curious. "My mom was a foreigner," Che explained. "I take after her." Daji nodded. "That explains it. Not just the looks, but the personality too." Che looked up. "How do Uchiha strike you guys?" Chun started to warn Daichi against answering, aware that Uchiha opinions were a sensitive subject in Konoha, but Inuzuka Palama stopped him, signaling Daichi to say what he thought. Daichi, never one to mince words, blurted out, "I don't think most of us can really hang out with Uchihas. Maybe because so many of them work security. They seem cold and harsh. Plus, a lot of Uchihas are stuck up. I just don't really care for them, to be honest. Except for you. You're alright." Daichi had unloaded his honest thoughts. Che smiled faintly, but was deep in thought. After dinner, they drew straws for night patrol duty. After patrolling until late, they headed back to camp. 5 people crammed into one tent was tight, especially with a big yellow dog. As Che drifted off, he could smell everyone's sweat. He edged closer to the tent wall for some breathing room. Later in the night, the stars twinkled and the moon shone, as if the world was asleep. Suddenly, a distant explosion boomed. Che shot awake, followed by Inuzuka Paladin and Huangmaru. They quickly roused the other 3 and rushed outside. A thick column of smoke billowed up from the center of the camp, with flames flickering below. "Trouble," Inuzuka Paladin said grimly. "That's the commander's tent. Let's move." Inuzuka Paladin dropped to all fours, focusing chakra in his hands and feet, then blasted off, beast mimicry ninjutsu, for legs technique. He vanished almost instantly, leaving 4 divots in the ground, Huangmaru right behind him. Only Che could match Inuzuka Paladin's speed, disappearing in a blur. Daji, stunned, exclaimed, "Holy crap. Che's as fast as the captain." Fuyuno Juanzo looked surprised, maybe faster. Mizumoto Takuto, still half asleep, mumbled, "We should probably catch up." They started running, but couldn't keep pace. Che and Inuzuka Pala reached the commander's tent. Che sensed Orochimaru inside. The tent ripped open, a giant snake coiled around a ninja, hoisting him into the air. The ninja thrashed, helpless. "Why betray Konoha?" Orochimaru's cold voice echoed from the tent. The ninja didn't answer. The snake squeezed tighter, and he lost consciousness. Orochimaru released the snake, stepped out, and casually lifted the ninja by the collar like a bag of trash. Turning to Che and Inuzuka Pala, he said, "Someone betrayed Konoha, collaborating with the Cloud Village and stole Konoha's defense plans. Minato's on his tail. You guys go too. Over there." "Yes, sir." Che and Inuzuka spun around and took off. Along the way, Che saw many Konoha ninjas injured and moaning, some dead. Clearly, the Cloud Village ninjas who dared to infiltrate the camp were an elite force. After a while, Che used his 6 eyes to scout ahead. A 20-man Cloud Village team was escaping, split into 6 groups, with Minato in pursuit. Even so, Minato was catching and eliminating them one by one. It showed just how dominant Minato was on the battlefield. Che pointed in a direction, toward the team farthest from Minato, that they might be able to intercept. Inuzuka Paladin ran behind Che, thinking, "How can this kid run faster on 2 feet than I can on 4? But even if they couldn't match Minato's speed, they were still top tier. They caught up with 3 Cloud Village ninjas, fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Che blasted a fireball at the back of one of the ninjas, catching him off guard. The Cloud Village ninja was hit squarely and sent flying. He lay still, large portions of his body burned, barely alive. Che ended it with a kunai to the throat, Fong passing Fong. Inuzuka Paladin, meanwhile, transformed Huangmaru into his own form. They both dropped to the ground and spun at high speed into twin tornadoes, slamming into another Cloud Village ninja. The ninja drew his sword and swung at one tornado, but then the other tornado slammed into his back. Before he could react, he flew into a tree with a sickening thud. The third Cloud Village ninja didn't even pause when his teammates fell, and kept running. That's a mission first type. Che and Inuzuka Pala were about to pursue when a special kunai flew in. The kunai had three-pronged blades and a light yellow handle marked with the phrase Sword of Ninja Love. It landed in front of the fleeing Cloud Village ninja. Instantly, Minato appeared. A Rasengan already formed in his hand. Bang! The Cloud Village ninja was blasted back more than 30 feet, landing in front of Che and Inuzuka Paladin. His chest was crushed, ribs piercing his heart, and he was dead. Minato retrieved the kunai and ninja pouch, then walked over, smiling. Thanks for the assist. Chapter 78 The Art of Flying Thunder God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Flying Thunder God technique, huh? Che asked, a hint of recognition in his voice. Minato smiled, scratching the back of his head. Yeah, it's my signature move. Inuzuka Paladin chimed in, signature move. That's an understatement. It's what he's known for. You've heard of Minato's nickname, the Yellow Flash, right? It's all about how he looks when he uses the Flying Thunder God. I remember one time, our squad ran into the Abbey combo from the hidden Cloud Village. They were basically their A-team, the third Raikage Sun and the eight-tailed Jinchuriki. Minato was fighting them both and he was still holding his own, pushing them back. They didn't dare press the attack. Minato's a good guy, because the eight-tailed Jinchuriki could have ended up dead that day. Inuzuka Paladin was practically bursting with excitement, as if he'd been there himself. Che smiled knowingly. Inuzuka clearly thought of Minato as a little brother, so he couldn't help but brag about him. Minato, ever modest, said, it was a close call, honestly. I'm just glad it ended the way it did. Che didn't know the specifics of that battle, just what he'd heard around the village. Still, it sounded like Minato had been at an advantage against two powerful opponents. This only increased Che's respect for Minato's strength. After all, the third Raikage Sun and an eight-tailed Jinchuriki were roughly equivalent to Minato and Kushina in Konoha. The Raikage Sun was a shoe-in for Raikage, and Che figured Minato was destined to become Hokage. Che hadn't seen the eight tails, but he had seen the nine tails. Just thinking about how it had broken the seal still gave him the creeps, so, curiosity piqued, Che asked, so, what kind of ninjutsu was Minato using back then? Well, the name's a mouthful. It's called Spiral Flash Super Round Dance Howl 3 style. Minato rattled off the bizarre name like it was nothing. Che thought, what a weird way to name things. I can't imagine what he'll name his kids. Star. Then he asked, could I see it? Inuzuka Paladin chuckled. I thought you were different from those other young ninjas. Guess you're just a Minato fanboy after all. Che grinned. Hey, he's the Yellow Flash. Truth was, admiration wasn't the only reason. Che wanted to see the technique so he could copy the Flying Thunder God. He'd seen Minato use it a few times, but all he ever saw was Minato disappearing or reappearing. Never the whole process. That made it impossible to analyze and copy with his 6 eyes. Minato readily agreed. He pulled 8 Flying Thunder God kunai from his pouch, held them between his fingers, and threw them in a wide arc. The kunai landed everywhere, some in the ground, some in trees. Minato focused his chakra and vanished, instantly appearing on the ground in the distance. He grabbed the kunai, put it back in his pouch, and vanished again, this time appearing in a tree nearby. He kept doing this until all the kunai were retrieved. The whole thing took less than 5 seconds. Minato put the kunai away, turned to Che and Inuzuka Paladin, and asked, so, did you get a good look? Che's eyes had been glued to Minato, practically shining. He snapped back to reality as Minato approached. Yeah. I saw it. Che sounded a little disappointed. Minato looked a bit awkward. He scratched his cheek and asked, what's wrong? Let you down? I mean, if you add a flash bomb, it's even more disorienting. Che quickly shook his head. No. I'm not disappointed. Just, stunned. Minato sighed in relief. He thought he'd been showing off, but had actually bombed. Che was disappointed, but not in Minato. He was disappointed in the Flying Thunder God technique itself. Can't copy it. He quickly analyzed why. The key wasn't Minato's chakra control, which was just a trigger. The real engine of the Flying Thunder God was the Flying Thunder God kunai. More specifically, the runes on them. Those runes contained the power of space, and the Six Eyes couldn't decipher them. It looked like the Flying Thunder God was out of reach for now, but the observation had sparked an idea. Space. Maybe I can do it without limitations. Che started thinking about how to combine his unlimited technique with the insight he'd gained from watching the Flying Thunder God. Just then, Minato found the stolen defense plans on the Kyumo ninja corpses. He called Che and Inuzuka Paladin to help with the cleanup, interrupting Che's train of thought. Back at camp, Orochimaru took the defense plans from Minato and said, "Just as I expected from Minato Namikaze." Minato responded modestly, then looked at the Konoha traitor lying on the ground. Why did he betray Konoha? Betrayal? We're wrong. He doesn't belong to Konoha. His identity is the war orphan from a battle in the Land of Sky during the last ninja war. He only joined Konoha to make a living. In reality, he is a spy sent by Cloud Hidden Village, Orochimaru said coldly. Che studied the spy on the ground. His brain seemed to have been severely damaged. He'd probably undergone intense memory extraction. At best, he'd be a vegetable. It was brutal, but not surprising, considering Orochimaru. Minato thought the method was a bit extreme, but he wasn't going to argue about the details in a situation this serious. Orochimaru quickly sent people to clean up, tend to the wounded, send the dead back to Konoha, recover the Cloud Ninja bodies, and repair the camp's defenses, while Minato fought on the front lines. Orochimaru was responsible for coordinating everything else. Che and Inuzuka went back to catch some sleep. The next day, the camp still showed signs of the previous night's attack. 2 of the patrol teams had been completely wiped out. Some tents close together had been hit by Cloud Ninja detonating tags. The Konoha ninjas inside had been killed in their sleep, their deaths gruesome. Even after the cleanup, the cool morning air still carried the smell of blood and gunpowder. This was the brutality of war, where people sometimes died for no reason. In the center of the camp, some ninjas were repairing the commander's tent. Orochimaru was outside, berating the patrol teams. No matter how they tried to explain, he wasn't letting it go. After dealing with them, Orochimaru began summoning ninjas to adjust and reinforce the defenses, determined to prevent another attack. Then, Orochimaru's golden, slit-like pupils narrowed, and he called for Minato. Chapter 79 Reciprocity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Minato arrived at the camp quickly, just as the holes in the coach's tent were being repaired. Orochimaru and Minato walked in and approached the sand table. Even though we crushed Kumogakure's actions last night, they still inflicted considerable losses on us, Orochimaru said, staring at the sand table. Yeah, Minato agreed. I'd say the casualty count is in the dozens. 36 with minor injuries, 9 seriously injured, and 12 fatalities. Orochimaru, as commander-in-chief, precisely stated the casualties. Plus, the tents and fortifications that need repair. Kumogakure's going to pay for all of it. Are you thinking? Minato had a hunch. Yes, give them a taste of their own medicine. A night attack, Orochimaru replied, his tone calm but edged with coldness. I'm assigning this task to you. Orochimaru suddenly looked up, catching Minato off guard. Minato didn't immediately agree. Pointing to the terrain on the sand table, he began to analyze the situation. I don't think that's a good idea. They were able to successfully infiltrate the camp and extract the spies last night not only because our patrolling ninjas were negligent, but also because of the terrain. Yuno country's terrain is dense with forests, and it's prone to fog at night, giving Kumo shinobi an advantage. However, the opposite is true for Kumogakure's camp, which is located in the Land of Frost on a flat, rocky plateau devoid of vegetation or cover. Our night attack would be easily detected, making it difficult to escape pursuit. Orochimaru turned his back and waved his hand, his tone flat. That's why I'm giving you this task. I don't care about the difficulties you encounter. I just need to see results. The mission details are up to you. Within 3 days, I want Kumogakure to suffer at least 10 times the losses they inflicted on us. Orochimaru stopped talking, and Minato, understanding the situation, left. Minato was frustrated. Such a hasty decision could lead to serious losses if he wasn't careful. He had to come up with a solid plan to ensure the mission's success while minimizing casualties. As Minato worried, he thought of Che. Maybe he can offer some advice. Minato found Che patrolling the battlefield and explained Orochimaru's assignment. Che sighed inwardly. Orochimaru is so unreasonable and set in his ways. Then he began considering Minato's dilemma. Terrain was a critical factor. The Land of Frost's terrain allowed patrolling ninjas to have a clear view of any approaching enemies at night. Even if the mission was successful, escape would be difficult, requiring a foolproof approach. Che squatted down and used a tree branch to sketch a simple topographic map. Minato was impressed. Che had only seen the battlefield terrain map once in the coach's camp. Since Kumogakure is going to attack at night, we need to return the favor with a louder statement, Che said, ignoring Minato and speaking to himself. Minato gathered from Che's words that he had an idea. Yunin's camp is here, right? Che asked. Minato nodded, so Che continued, this is the only high ground for miles, offering a wide view. They must think they're safe camping here. But we can get closer. Che looked up at Minato, who immediately understood. You mean, approach from underground? Minato's eyes showed comprehension. Yes, we can send Earth-style ninjas ahead to create underground tunnels and break into the camp after approaching the high ground. After causing significant damage, the troops would retreat the same way, using detonating tags to collapse the tunnel entrance and block the enemy's pursuit. Minato clapped his hands in praise. That plan's reliable. It's worth a shot. They discussed the specific details of the plan and finalized the timing and number of participants for the night attack. Minato then summoned his 200 forward troops and carefully selected 50 elites. The group included 3 Jonin, including Minato, and the rest were Chunin and Special Jonin. No Genin were chosen. All members of the Inuzuka Paladin team were selected. The next day, at dusk, the 50-man troop had made all preparations, gathered supplies, and carried a large number of detonating tags. Under Minato's leadership, they crossed into the Land of Frost and began approaching the Kumogakure camp. By the time they reached a distance where the camp was visible, it was already night. They concealed themselves on a gentle slope, observing the Kumogakure camp on the horizon. Minato commanded, halt the advance. Start digging here, and stay hidden. At this distance, they could still be discovered if they weren't careful, so they dug while concealed behind the slope. This hid both their figures and the excavated gravel and soil. Che continued to use Earth-style techniques to break the ground. Daji, another Earth-style ninja, helped smash the hard, rocky ground into gravel and rubble. Daichi's Earth-style skills were exceptional, almost as good as 2 or 3 other Earth-style Chunin. Huangmaru helped dig with his paws. Daichi proudly said to Inuzuka Paladin, who stood nearby, what do you think? Is my Earth-style strong enough for a promotion? If you could be promoted to Special Jonin, it might be possible, Inuzuka said, stroking his beard. Daji was overjoyed. Great! I'm one step closer to my dream. Che, digging in the soil, asked, what are your dreams? My dream is to become a great ninja like the Sannin or Lord Minato, Daichi said. Che asked in an upward tone, oh? Why not Hokage? Daji quickly waved his hand. I know my limits. But I think you have a good chance of becoming Hokage. Che smiled but didn't answer. Seeing this, Daji said, after all, you're a genius, you can definitely do it. If you become Hokage someday, remember to thank me for my prophecy. Before Che could reply, Inuzuka interrupted, that's enough. Everyone else is working, and you're just chatting. Daji closed his mouth in embarrassment. Jun Fuyuno, who was watching, said, weren't you going to become a great ninja like the Sannin? Why did you give up so quickly? Daji stubbornly said, what do you know? This is called enduring humiliation and bearing a heavy burden. Takuto Mizumoto, who was yawning, burst out laughing. which made Daichi feel very embarrassed. He started working harder, his face red. Chapter 80 Night Attack on Yunyin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The excavation went off without a hitch, and before long, they had the basic shape of the underground tunnel. The entrance was tucked behind a gentle slope, big enough for 10 people to walk through shoulder to shoulder. It was less than 10 meters deep, making it tough for regular ninjas to spot unless they were standing right on top of it or using specialized sensory ninjutsu. With over 20 ninjas working Earth-style jutsu non-stop, progress was fast. Tons of rock and dirt were being busted up and cleared away every minute. Even so, carving out a tunnel that stretched for miles was still a massive undertaking. They worked non-stop from dusk till late, inching their way closer to the Cloud Village camp high above. Outside the camp, a few ninjas in white, one-shoulder vests were on patrol. They were stuck with the graveyard shift, and it had been over 4 hours since they'd been dragged out of bed. Their shift would be over in about half an hour, so, naturally, they were dragging. One ninja was already nodding off, while the others yawned without a care in the world. Just then, one of the younger ninjas stopped patrolling and asked an older ninja beside him, "Rami, you feel anything?" "Feel? Yeah, I feel sleepy," Rami replied with another yawn. "Not that. I'm serious," the young ninja insisted. Rami just shrugged. "Me too, I'm seriously sleepy. I think I felt something under my feet," the young ninja said, ignoring Rami. "No way. You think we're dealing with ninjas from the Stone Village?" Rami scoffed, waving him off. He'd fought in the last ninja war and figured he knew what was what. Rami figured the kid was worried about an enemy sneaking up on them from underground, but digging a tunnel without the Cloud ninjas noticing would be a monumental task. If Leaf Village had tried during the day, they'd have been spotted for sure. There was no way they could be digging tunnels overnight. Tunneling took too much energy and chakra. Cloud Village would be practically handing them easy kills, but the young ninja wasn't letting it go, and he ran into the camp to find a sensory ninja. Rami just shook his head and let him go. The young ninja quickly rousted a sensory ninja. The guy looked like he'd just been woken up and was seriously out of it. "Where's the disturbance?" he asked groggily. Rami pointed to the ground. "He thinks he felt something underground. Humor him, so he'll stop freaking out." The sensory ninja reluctantly sat down, crossed his legs, and started running chakra through his senses. At first, he looked annoyed, ready to fake a quick scan, but the more he focused, the more he realized something was wrong, and he muttered, "No way, no way." The sensory ninja snapped his eyes open, scrambled to his feet, and held up his hand in a warning. "What is it?" Rami asked, already sensing something was wrong. The sensory ninja stammered, "There's someone down there, there's someone down there." Five what? 5 guys? Rami asked, relieved. 50 guys. The sensory ninja finally blurted out. Just then, the ground shook violently, and cracks started to spiderweb across the rocky surface. Fire style, fire dragon jutsu. A fiery dragon blasted through the weakened ground, leaving a gaping hole. Then a blonde ninja appeared in front of the stunned Cloud Patrol. Blonde. Rami stammered, completely freaked out. Minato threw his flying thunder god kunai and wiped out the entire patrol in a flash. Rami didn't even get a chance to yell flash before he went down. Che was right behind him, blasting the Cloud Village gate with another fire attack, turning it into a pile of charred rubble. Then, the Leaf ninjas, who had been waiting for the signal, poured out of the tunnel and stormed the camp. The Earth-style ninjas who had been digging stayed behind to rest and guard the tunnel entrance. An eye for an eye. Kiba and Akamaru teamed up, unleashing their combined jutsu. 2 whirlwind tornadoes ripped through the camp, lifting several Cloud Village tents into the air, where they spun like deadly tops. The duo had taken out almost 10 Cloud ninjas in no time. The others were doing just as well. Fuyuno Jun was a master with ninja tools, accurately throwing exploding tag kunai into several Cloud camps. The Cloud ninjas inside barely had time to wake up before they were blown to bits in the fiery explosions. Mizumoto Takuto used his fire-style jutsu to torch several tents. Cloud ninjas, their clothes ablaze, stumbled out, only to be cut down by Takuto in a few swift moves, including Che. The Inuzuka team alone had racked up more kills than Cloud Village had inflicted on Leaf Village during their night raid. Of course, the goals were different. This time, Leaf Village was out for revenge, while Cloud Village had just been trying to deal with a traitor. Che was slinging fire-style jutsu like it was free, turning huge swaths of the Cloud Village camp into scorched earth. Collapsing rocks and flying debris added to the chaos, but Minato was the one with the flashiest moves. He was using his Flying Thunder God technique, teleporting between kunai and dropping flash bombs, taking down everyone in his path. His blonde hair was a blur of motion, and the flash bombs lit up the night. The Yellow Flash lived up to his name. After all, nicknames don't lie. As the Leaf Ninjas wreaked havoc, Cloud Village Commander A, the third Raikage son, rallied his troops and organized a counterattack. There were only a dozen or so Leaf Ninjas in the camp, compared to thousands of Cloud Ninjas. The only reason Leaf had been so successful was the element of surprise, but now that Cloud Village was regrouping, some of the Leaf Ninjas were starting to get hit by lightning-style jutsu. Their bodies burned black. Seeing this, Minato gave the order to retreat. He and Che stood their ground, holding off the Cloud Ninjas while the others fell back, but the Cloud Ninjas were closing in from all sides, and it was getting hard for the two of them to hold them off. The Cloud Ninja managed to break through and attack the retreating Leaf Village troops. Just when it looked like things were about to go sideways, a huge figure stepped in front of the Leaf Ninjas. It was Akimichi Danto. Another Jonin and former teammate of Minato's. Danto pulled out a green pill and swallowed it in one gulp. His chakra surged, tripling his power. Then, he used the human boulder jutsu, growing into a 5-meter-tall giant. Wielding his staff, he charged into the Cloud Village ninjas, smashing everything in his path. Seeing this, Kiba and Akamaru joined forces, transforming into a two-headed wolf. They used their passing Fong technique, spinning around Danto like a buzz saw, cutting down any enemy that got close. This gave the Leaf Ninjas the chance they needed to escape back into the tunnel. Minato yelled back, "You two, get back to the tunnel and block the entrance. I'll cover the rear." Danto and Kiba trusted Minato and retreated without hesitation. Minato turned to Che. "Hang in there with me for a little longer, will you?" Che didn't look scared or worried. He grinned, eager for a fight. "That's what I'm talking about."